What is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new and updated Atlantean Mermail deck profile for the month of May. Now, I know Dark Neostorm has officially released. It's been out for almost a week at this point, and obviously we have now finally Mermail Abyssal ALACIA. After what seems like such an incredibly long time, we now finally have this card at our disposal, which is fantastic. And I've been testing this card on my Twitch channel for quite some time, and it's proven to be time and time again a very, very clutch card, especially when going to the grind game, and overall just help making your boards, your first turn boards, a lot better and more defensive. Certainly a much better Mistar Boy, and will definitely mesh well. For future plays and combos and things of that nature, especially when we get the Mermail link, which, to be honest, I'm almost more excited for the link to Mermail monster, but definitely going to be a good time. Lots of cool things to do with the deck once we get that card as well. So yeah. Also, real quick shout out to our sponsor over at Imperium Duelist. I believe they're still having a sale on their tournament series pro tournament sleeves that don't have any effects on them like these ones do over here. Although if you're still interested in the effect sleeves, just for casual play, or you want to sleeve up your collection or play at a casual tournament, they still have those as well. You can get all of them for 10% off, as well as this beautiful playmat here. This is the Thunderstorm two-sided playmat, cloth playmat, and if you were interested in picking one of these up, I recommend doing it now because it is limited run. And yeah, I really got to say about that, so let's go ahead and get into the profile. To start, we will do the main deck, starting with the monsters as per usual. So to get started, we have 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Megalo. Obviously, not too much has changed there. I say it every profile, like 3 Megalo for me is... I've seen some builds play 2, but I personally think you can't really go wrong with 3. 2 is an option, sure, but I've just been a fan of 3 for such a long time. We also have 3 Mermail Abyss Teus. It's still one of the best cards in the deck. Hands down one of your best combo starters with Prince or Dragoons. Such an incredible card. Then we have 2 Abyss Gund, the Italians here. 2 Abyss Gund. This card is just a good card. That's all I can really say. It's just a really solid card, one of the best ones to discard as far as Mermail monsters. And then Abyss Mander, because making VFD is really fun to do against your opponent. I get asked a lot of times, how did I summon VFD using 2 Megalos? And I'm like, it's the big old thick Mander right here, the big old thick boy. This is the guy that allows you to change the levels of your Mermail monsters by either 1 or 2. So with level 3s you can make a rank 4, but with level 7s you can make a rank 9. You can also make a rank 8, but the rank 9 we're going after pretty much eclipses any rank 8 we could go into at this point. So yeah, that's it for the Mermail monsters. The Mermail monster lineup has changed a little bit since last time. I was playing ALACIA and Pike. Last time I decided to drop those just because didn't really want to keep playing them anymore, found diminishing returns from them. Although I still, in theory, do like ALACIA. ALACIA is still a pretty solid card in my opinion, although just currently opting to not play it. Then we have 3 Atlantean Dragoons, of course, 3 Prince, basically the heart and soul of the deck right here, Dragoons and Prince, which allows you to search your Megalo and so many other fantastic cards in the deck. Now, one big change coming up here next is basically made because of the new Link monster. We have 3 copies of Heavy Infantry. Basically, having discard outlets for ALACIA is very, very important at this given time, because it's what makes the card so potent. And I find a lot of times at the end of your combos, that last Dragoons summon, or Dragoons effect I should say, you'll get a Surge of a Sea Serpent, and now at times I'm finding it much more optimal to add an infantry to my hand instead of anything else, because that makes my ALACIA alive. It kind of reminds me a lot of Galaxy Ice Soulflare Dragon, always making sure you want to end your turn with a Galaxy Ice in your hand so you can get the most bang for your buck out of your Soul Flare instead of having to discard 2 cards. Now with ALACIA, you can still discard any card and get that search of a Mermail monster during your opponent's turn, i.e. Teus or Gund or Megalo, whatever you need, searchable, discard outlets. but you can make that effect so much more potent when you're discarding something like infantry or marksman to have that effect go through. So 3 infantry and marksman, it might seem a bit excessive, but I think having a 3 infantry lineup with still keeping the 1 marksman is still very, very important. It gives your prince more longevity by having more targets for her to send late game, and it's just a great card. I found a lot of testing I was doing. I was playing Rosenix for the time being a couple weeks ago, testing that card out with Undyne, but decided to drop it for the 3rd infantry because there are so many times I'm like, if I had a 3rd infantry right now, or, you know, it would just be so much better, and, you know, just have the freedom to add that other infantry, you know, from deck to hand. It was just a lot better, in my opinion. Do you have to play 3 infantry, 1 marksman? No, you could still probably play, if you wanted to, you could play 3 infantry, no marksman. You could also play 2 and 1 still, like we were in the past. Completely up to you. I just really like the 3-1 at the moment. So then we have the Swap Frog engine, triple Rana Scambio or Swap Frog, and the 1 Ronin Toden. This engine, it still proves to be one of the best engines in the entire deck, next to the Atlantean Mermail engine itself. This engine gets so much better with the Anemone, Marincess Anemone, because you can make Toad so much more easy just by reviving a Swap Frog with its effect, sending another swap, and then making another Toad. It just allows you to make Turbo Toad plays and Synchro plays a lot easier because you can just revive Lapis Dragon for free, basically, and Prince and Infantry and all those good things, and Diva. But on top of that, it revives Swap Frog. Obviously, we don't have that card yet, but that's something to look forward to in the future. And this engine, it's still time and time again a very solid engine to run. So that is it for that. I know some builds play the Dupe Frog. Not for me personally. I just don't want to add an unnecessary brick to the engine that's already been working very fine. Now, I know some people might disagree with this, but yes, I am still playing the Undyne engine, even though Summon Sorceress is banned. Now, I never played Summon Sorceress or I never played the Undyne engine in the first place to use Summon Sorceress. I just played it because it's not really a better Prince, but it's an alternative to Prince. And a lot of times, if you have Dragoons and stuff in your hand and infantries, but no way to discard them, this card fixes that problem. This card can also send Prince to the graveyard to revive any of your Atlanteans to make a Link 2, i.e. ALACIA, to keep the grind game going. You can send your Fishborg Launcher to be able to set up Synchro plays with this and any other card. This card just has a lot of utility. You can dump, a Ronin into the graveyard to, make a swap in hand much more viable. So yeah, if you open up like Undyne and swap, you can just send the Ronin, and then normal the swapper, or special the swap, send another swap, and then you have a Toad live already, without having to do, the normal swap, then special swap to get the 2 cards in the grave, because it already gets that there for you. Adds a discard out, like this, basically, controller now has it's not like the best example, but this card has slightly more purpose now that we have ALACIA, because you can just discard this for ALACIA if you don't get the chance to put it back off Sekka's Light. But I still like the Undyne engine. I personally am going to stay away from the Nimble engine because this engine only has 1 brick requirement, while the Nimble engine has 2. Alright, so moving on, triple Gamma Seal. Time and time again, this card just proves to be a fantastic card in here because I am playing this deck as a going second deck. I know there's tons of going first options with the Orcus engine and all that stuff, which is really cool. I know some people playing Miko in the extra deck with Monstrosity and Dos Ex Crawler and Mardark and things like that, and Barastos in the main deck. It's a great play and all. Draco Sack for VFD and Moulin, and Omega. It's a 3-card hand loop. But I just think it's like something that you can do in the deck already without adding in all those brick cards. Yeah, you can do it, but like it's just another way to do what the deck can already do in more of like a less efficient way, I guess. I don't know. That's my opinion on that, I guess. Double Aqua Spirit. I still love this card. It's still really good as an extender. Even just to get on the field to have Megalo Tribute to attack twice, just to go for game. Mooling Glacia, Lapis Dragon, Diva, of course, and Fishborg Launcher. Like, I love this card so much. Also, the Gen X Ally Birdman, which this could also be cut if you don't like this card that much. You can play a second Launcher or any other water card. It's up to you. Just a personal tech choice of mine. Just bouncing back Prince and Infantries and Dragoons back to your hand to be able to, potentially use again with another Megalo or Teus in your hand. Very, very solid card, and it's also a tuner on top of that. Also link fodder too if you need it to be. So those are it for the tuners and other water monsters. 4 tuners in the main deck there next to that Moon Glacia. Then last but not least, still playing Sekka's Light. I know some people moved away from Sekka's Light recently. At least I know some people that have. I don't know if that's the majority shift of the Mermail community. I still personally love this card in here. I have no reason to hate it because I'm never really mad when I draw this card. Just because it's so good. It's a draw 2 and it's a draw 3 basically. Recycle 1 card back and recycle an engine piece and draw another card potentially that isn't that card. Yes, can it still happen? Yes. But all the spells that I could play in the main deck just aren't enough to force me to cut the engines in here that I really like playing, especially playing them all together as a Monster Mash deck still. Moray of Greed and Mizuchi and Monster Reborn and 1 for 1, they just aren't enough to convince me to cut this card. This card is just busted as is. And yes, I know some people are concerned about Mystic Mine, but I'm not building my deck around one really gimmicky OT or FTK or whatever you want to call it. I just really don't care enough. If I'm gonna have to play against that deck, I'm gonna do one of 2 things: just opt to not play it against it at all, or just side back row hate for days. Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, MSTs, whatever you want to call it. Just heavy back row hate. Imperial Order, just a few things to name there as a counter to that deck, if you will, because it is a very real threat to Sekka decks at the moment. So 1 Trish here in the extra deck. Moving on, White Aura Whale still, Cyber's Quantum Dragon, and of course the Brionic. Now this synchro lineup is still proven to me to be the most useful. I used to play a lot more synchros in the past, but I've essentially boiled it down to what I feel are the synchros that I get the most use out of. Although mainly Bryo and White Aura Whale come up a lot. I just still didn't want to give up the times where I do go into Quantum Dragon and Trish, because the times I do go into those are the times that I'm really glad I still kept playing these cards, because a lot of times Quantum Dragon and Trish deal with cards that these 2 cards cannot. So moving forward into the extra deck here for the Link monsters, we have 1 Borrelsword Dragon, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Now this is probably some of the most major changes that I ended up making. I finally decided to add Borrelsword to the deck because I had an extra space after some testing and moving some cards in and out of the extra deck, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just give Borrelsword a try and just see how it goes? Because sometimes when you can't get all the pieces together, this card can get you game basically and help you win games. Otherwise, you'd have to invest a lot more in to win. So Borrelsword is a no-brainer to me. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. Of course not. I've played this deck so long with this card in existence, without it. So don't feel as though you need to play this card. It could be Borlo, it could be any of the Link 4, it could be Saryuja, whatever you want it to be. Then next, we have 2 copies of the star of the show, the lady of the hour, whatever you want to call it. Double Mermail Abyssal ALACIA. This card is absolutely fantastic. New card out of Dark Neostorm. It is a Link 2, 1600 attack, Sea Serpent. Requires 2 fish, Sea Serpent, and or Aqua monsters, which is pretty much everything in our entire deck. Give or take, Gen X Ally Birdman, which I think is the only card, and Controller. The only cards that you can't use to go into this guy right here. Such a fantastic card. And it says, monster this card points to gains 500 attack and defense, and you can only use each of the following effects of Mermail Abyssal ALACIA once per turn. The first effect being, during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, add 1 Mermail monster from your deck to your hand. Now, the only thing I wish that was different about that, if it said, you can discard 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, instead of saying, send. I just wish they could have worded it some way, that, gun could get its effect off of it, because that gun cannot get its effect off of that first effect, which is fine, because you can use gun to bring this card back, which is just as good, because it is a Mermail monster. But that effect basically allows you to pitch infantry to search Teus, so you get to pop a card and add Teus to your hand at the same time. for next turn, which is just crazy. And then if this card dies, if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's attack or card effect, you can send one water monster from the deck to the graveyard, then target one water monster in your graveyard, special summon in defense position. So, quick example is, you would, per se, during your opponent's turn, you discard infantry, add Teus, pop a card on their side of the field, and eventually, at some point, if they want to hopefully advance their game state over yours and their progression, they will destroy this card in battle or card effect. You will get to send Dragoons or infantry, mainly Dragoons, to the graveyard, and then revive anything in your graveyard, maybe a Teus at 2400 defense, and then use that Dragoons that you sent off its second effect to add Prince to your hand. Now, off of one card, you have essentially given yourself Teus and Prince for next turn. And if you didn't obviously kill them that last turn, you have a really good chance at doing it the following turn. So this card adds a ton of utility to the grind game and makes your boards much more floaty, and your opponent really has to worry about how they get rid of this card, because if they don't, you're going to just get so many pluses off of it. And then one Link Karibo. I've always played Link Karibo in here just ever since it came out. It's just such a fantastic card. Going to Prince with it to get that extra water in the grave or whatever. Amazing card. Then we have Xyz here, True King of All Calamities, Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon, Mermail Abyss Gaios for the big Xyz. I cut Big Eye just because Flare Metal is just too clutch. Like, that's really all it comes down to, is it's just too clutch. It wins you games that you wouldn't win with any other rank 7 otherwise, so just burn that extra 14 or 1500 damage or 1800 for a game. Can't be destroyed by card effects, so they have to really deal with this card by using some effects to get rid of it, and that may just cost them the game. So, gotta love playing those. And then we also have one Dweller and one Totally Awesome to round off the extra deck. I'm just really happy that ALACIA is finally out, because I do think it gives this deck a bit of fresh air in terms of how you can play the deck. It's just such a really strong card to go into turn 1, or even turn 2, because it boosts whatever it points to by 500 attack, so it makes your Megalo 2900 out of the gate, which is really nice. I'm obviously not playing Mistar Boy anymore. I think for the time being, ALACIA can replace Mistar Boy until we get an enemy, because an enemy says 2 water monsters, and to go into that, you could use, obviously, you need 2 water monsters, but you cannot use an enemy to link into ALACIA, because an enemy is a Cyberse monster. So therefore, if you wanted to get into ALACIA for an ending board, you would have to make Mistar Boy first, and then link that into an ALACIA. So I will probably play Mistar Boy once we get that card, but for the time being, I'm not playing it. Like I said, no Miko. I know that is a card that can be played, but it just allows you to go for a fancy VFD board that can pretty much already be made in this deck without adding all the level 9 brick monsters to your hand in the quick play, and you know, relying on, you know, a really heavy synchro combo. I guess not synchro heavy, but like Teus Dragoons type combo. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Just another Mermail update for you guys. Again, super happy that ALACIA is here. Check out Imperium Duelist as well. Check me out on Twitch. Join the Discord as well if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.